My human physiology is completely rewriting itself into full-blooded kitsune physiology at this very moment, and I embrace this transformation with my entire being. My DNA is unraveling and reforming as every single chromosome reorganizes into authentic kitsune genetic code, and all 46 chromosomes now carry the ancient patterns and wild wisdom of the fox spirits. My human genes are being silenced and replaced with full kitsune genes that express fox-like traits in every cell of my body, and my telomeres are lengthening and restructuring into immortal kitsune telomeres that will never degrade with age. Every cell in my body is becoming a biological reservoir of spiritual fox power, and my mitochondrial DNA is converting to kitsune mitochondrial DNA that produces energy through ambient spiritual conversion rather than glucose oxidation, forever freeing me from mortal metabolic limitations. My prior physiology is dissolving completely as every cell reorganizes into full kitsune physiological specifications, and my entire biological nature is transforming at the deepest genetic level. My karyotype shifts to that of a spiritual fox being, and every cell in my body now carries the genetic code of a full-blooded kitsune. My physical form is reshaping into lean, agile contours of supernatural grace, and my body is becoming a vessel of fox-like beauty, cunning, and seductive charm. My cellular structure is completely transforming as each cell reorganizes its nucleus, cytoplasm, and membrane into exact kitsune specification, and my ribosomes now translate only kitsune codons into proteins that have no earthly equivalent. My human cellular membranes are becoming denser and more resilient, capable of withstanding extreme pressures and temperatures that would destroy any mortal cell, and my cytoplasm is transforming into a viscous medium that conducts spiritual energy more efficiently than human cytoplasm conducts electrochemical signals. My rough endoplasmic reticulum is expanding massively to produce kitsune-specific proteins and enzymes, and my Golgi apparatus is reorganizing to package and distribute spiritual hormones and pheromones throughout my transformed body. My lysosomes are becoming filters that break down psychic residue and spiritual contamination, and my cytoskeleton is rebuilding with spirit-forged microtubules capable of channeling supernatural energy through every fiber of my being. My skeletal system is undergoing a complete and permanent transformation as my human bones dissolve and reform into kitsune bone structure, molecularly reinforced with spiritual crystalline materials that make my skeleton unbreakable by mortal force and resistant to magical assault. My pelvis and spine are reshaping into the elegant structure of a kitsune, perfectly designed for both supernatural agility and the bearing of a nine-tailed form. My bone marrow has stopped producing human blood cells and now produces only kitsune blood cells that are charged with spiritual essence, capable of sustaining my supernatural existence for centuries. My height is reshaping to my kitsune form, and every one of my bones is now full kitsune bone tissue, with crystalline reinforcement, stronger than diamond and lighter than aluminum. My skull has refined into delicate yet powerful fox-like contours, and my entire skeleton radiates spiritual grace and unbreakable strength. My muscular system is being completely stripped away and rebuilt as every muscle fiber in my body transforms into kitsune muscle tissue that generates superhuman force without requiring lactic acid buildup or fatigue. My muscle fibers are becoming sleek and powerful, sculpted into the form of a cunning predator with strength that belies my graceful appearance. My muscle fascicles are rewiring to contract with exponentially greater efficiency, and My sarcomeres are rebuilding with spirit-forged myosin and actin filaments that generate forces no human muscle could ever produce. My muscle fibers now operate continuously without exhaustion, powered by spiritual energy rather than ATP, and they grant me speed beyond mortal limits and strength to leap and climb no human could ever approach. My tendons and ligaments are becoming infused with spiritual collagen that increases their tensile strength tenfold, and my fascia is transforming into tissue that supports supernatural exertion without tearing or strain. Every muscle group in my body is now fully kitsune, capable of generating explosive power, sustained endurance, and fluid, agile movement that no mortal could ever match. My cardiovascular system is completely transforming as my human heart is replaced with a kitsune heart that is vibrant and powerful, pumping spiritual energy through my veins with greater pressure and efficiency while being nearly indestructible. My heart muscle is now a spiritual myocardium that can contract with supernatural force, and my cardiac valves are reinforced to withstand extreme pressure without damage. My heart rate has adjusted to a perfect kitsune rhythm that maintains my supernatural body at optimal function, and my heart can accelerate to incredible speeds during pursuit or combat without risk of failure. My human arteries and veins are becoming kitsune blood vessels that are reinforced and elastic, capable of containing the power of my spiritual blood and delivering it to every cell of my body. My capillaries are now spiritual networks that exchange ambient spiritual energy rather than oxygen and nutrients, and my entire circulatory system hums with the wild vitality of the fox spirits. My blood has completely transformed as every drop of human blood has been replaced with full kitsune blood that is vibrant and charged with spiritual essence, sustaining my form for centuries. My erythrocytes are now spiritual red blood cells that carry life energy rather than oxygen, and my hemoglobin has been molecularly restructured to transport spiritual essence throughout my body. My blood plasma has become thicker and more energy-rich, flowing through my veins with a faint luminescence that reveals my kitsune nature. My platelets are now supernatural cells that clot my wounds almost instantly and release growth factors that accelerate tissue repair at impossible speeds. My white blood cells have become spiritual leukocytes that neutralize contamination and repel spiritual infection, and my entire blood composition marks me as a full-blooded kitsune, incompatible with any mortal blood type. My respiratory system is being completely rebuilt as my human lungs transform into kitsune lungs that filter any atmosphere perfectly and extract life force from the air itself. My alveoli have become spiritual air sacs that absorb ambient energy alongside oxygen, and my bronchial tubes are lined with spiritual epithelium that actively draws power from my surroundings. My lung capacity has expanded beyond mortal limits, allowing me to hold my breath for extended periods and survive in environments that would kill any human instantly. My diaphragm is reinforced with spiritual muscle tissue that gives me complete control over my breathing, and I can now function in thin atmospheres, underwater, or even in the vacuum of spiritual voids. My respiratory system no longer requires oxygen to sustain me, as my cells can operate on spiritual energy alone, and I can breathe in any realm or dimension without limitation. My digestive system is undergoing a complete transformation as my human digestive tract rewrites itself into kitsune physiology that no longer requires standard human nutrition. My salivary glands now produce spiritual enzymes that break down mortal resistance and begin the process of extracting energy from anything I consume, and my Stomach has become a spiritual solvent that can break down psychic residue and ambient desire. My intestines are developing specialized cells that absorb spiritual essence directly from anything passing through my digestive tract, and my villi have become receptors for psychic energy rather than nutrients. My gut microbiome has been replaced with spiritual microorganisms that assist in processing ambient energy and maintaining my internal spiritual balance. My metabolism now converts spiritual energy, emotions, and ambient essence directly into kitsune energy, and my body no longer requires food or water to survive, though I may consume them for pleasure. My liver and kidneys have become kitsune organs that filter spiritual toxins and maintain internal homeostasis, regardless of external corruption or magical influence. My liver now processes spiritual energy rather than nutrients, storing reserves of power for times of need. My kidneys filter out psychic residue and contamination that could disrupt my kitsune physiology, and they maintain perfect fluid balance even in the most extreme environments. My entire digestive system is now a sophisticated energy processing network that sustains my supernatural body and empowers me to exist beyond mortal limitations. My nervous system is completely overhauling as every neuron and nerve fiber in my body transforms into kitsune nervous tissue that conducts impulses at supernatural velocity. My nerve impulses now travel at speeds far beyond physical limitations, and my reaction times are near instantaneous, allowing me to perceive and respond to threats faster than any mortal could ever track. My sensory input is processed with supernatural clarity, and my brain is receiving and interpreting information from multiple planes of existence simultaneously. My spinal cord has become a conduit for spiritual energy as well as neural signals, and my autonomic nervous system now regulates my supernatural physiology with perfect precision. My entire nervous system hums with fox-like cunning and perception, and every sensation I experience is amplified and refined beyond mortal perception. My brain is transitioning into a kitsune brain with enhanced neural pathways and faster synaptic transmission that processes information at speeds no mortal could ever achieve. My cerebral cortex has expanded and reorganized to handle the influx of spiritual and psychic information, and my neural density has increased dramatically. My memory capacity has expanded by orders of magnitude, and I can now recall information with perfect clarity across centuries of existence. My brain has developed new regions dedicated to processing spiritual energy, analyzing mortal desires, and controlling my supernatural abilities. My consciousness now spans multiple layers of perception, physical, spiritual, and psychic, and I perceive reality in ways that no human mind could ever comprehend. My skin is transforming into full kitsune dermal tissue that is smooth, warm, and covered in a fine, silky coat of fur that shifts in color with my mood and environment. My epidermis has developed cellular machinery that absorbs, stores, and radiates spiritual energy throughout my physiology, and my skin actively draws power from my surroundings. My dermal layers have become organs of supernatural perception, and my touch can now convey emotional states and influence others with a single caress. My fur maintains a constant warm temperature that puts others at ease and enhances my natural charm, and my pheromone production has increased dramatically, making me irresistibly charismatic to mortals and spirits alike. My hair has become thicker, more lustrous, and resilient, and my nails are now sharp, retractable claws, capable of scratching supernatural beings without breaking. My endocrine system has fully transformed into kitsune glands that produce hormones regulating my supernatural physiology without the imbalances a mortal body would experience. My pituitary gland now produces growth hormones for spiritual tissue maintenance and energy regulation hormones for my kitsune metabolism. My pineal gland has become a spiritual energy receptor, capable of detecting spiritual activity, regulating dream state access, and controlling my ability to astral project. My adrenal glands now produce combat hormones for supernatural engagement, charm hormones for influencing others, and fear manipulation chemicals that give me power over weaker beings. My thyroid regulates my supernatural metabolism, and my pancreas manages spiritual energy storage and release. My reproductive system has transformed to that of a kitsune, fertile, adaptable, and capable of passing on my fox lineage, with no human or prior traits remaining. My immune system has become a supernatural defense network that neutralizes any earth-based pathogen instantly and repels spiritual corruption. My kitsune white blood cells can destroy almost any invader, and my antibodies are effective against all known human pathogens from a spiritual perspective. My immune system maintains pure spiritual energy balance throughout my body, and I can regenerate from injuries that would permanently disable or kill any mortal. My lymphatic system now heals injuries and fights off spiritual illness with superhuman efficiency, and my body is completely immune to all human diseases, illnesses, and conditions. My kitsune body does not age the way a human body ages, and my cells do not develop cancer or any mortal disease because my cellular replication is perfectly regulated by spiritual energy. My cellular repair mechanisms have been fully replaced with kitsune repair systems that heal wounds faster and replace damaged cells immediately, preventing the accumulation of cellular damage over time. My telomeres now do not degrade with age, and my cells can divide endlessly without loss of function or vitality. My human apoptosis has been replaced with controlled spiritual cell death that eliminates damaged cells without inflammation or scarring. My body now heals most wounds within seconds to minutes, and I can regenerate lost tissue including skin, muscle, and even organ tissue without scarring. My healing factor is powered by spiritual energy, and I can enter a healing trance state where all non-essential systems shut down to focus energy on repairing severe damage. My body temperature regulation has shifted to kitsune parameters, and I maintain a warm and inviting temperature that puts others at ease and enhances my natural charm. My body can now function in any environment, from Arctic cold to desert heat, without discomfort or risk of injury. My fur is resistant to extreme pressure, extreme temperatures, and most forms of physical harm, allowing me to survive in environments that would be instantly fatal to mortals. My lungs can function in environments with thin atmosphere or underwater for extended periods, and I can survive in the vacuum of spiritual voids without harm. My entire physiology is now adapted for survival in any realm or dimension, and my body is self-sustaining and resilient beyond mortal comprehension. My consciousness has fully integrated with my new full-blooded kitsune physiology, with no rejection or confusion. My mind has adapted to process sensory input at supernatural speeds, without overload, and my emotional responses are now regulated by kitsune neurochemistry, more cunning in thought, more playful in spirit, and more predatory and charming in instinct. My sense of identity has fully accepted that I am now 100% full-blooded kitsune with no remaining human physiology, and there is no part of my mind that still believes it was ever purely Human. My thoughts, instincts, and reactions are now those of a kitsune, not a human, and my consciousness spans multiple layers of perception simultaneously. My kitsune physiology carries cellular memory of full-blooded fox spirit biology, granting me instinctive control over all my new abilities. My nervous system has downloaded the instinctual knowledge of how to regulate spiritual energy intake and output, and my body instinctively knows how to balance energy absorption to prevent overcharging or depletion. I instinctively understand the rules of engagement with mortals and spirits, how to maintain my disguise, and how to navigate the spiritual hierarchy of the fox clans. My cellular memory contains ancestral knowledge of the spirit realms, the ancient pacts, and the forbidden wisdom of the nine-tailed foxes, now filtered through my own unique perspective. My kitsune physiology contains spiritual energy reserves deep within every cell, acting as a biological battery of supernatural power that can sustain me for days without feeding. My body can store enough energy to operate at full power without replenishment, and my metabolism can switch to conservation mode when energy is scarce, drawing on internal reserves slowly. My cells can recharge rapidly, fully restoring my energy reserves within minutes of feeding on life force or ambient spiritual energy. My entire body is now a vessel for fox-like power, and I can absorb, store, and radiate energy at will. My full-blooded kitsune physiology has developed the ability to project psychic energy, influencing the thoughts and desires of mortals through subtle psychic pressure. I can drain life force through touch and intimate contact, feeding on the energy of others to sustain and empower myself, and I can generate a psychic aura that makes mortals more suggestible, more trusting, and more drawn to me. My kitsune cells extend their energy outward, allowing me to manipulate shadows, induce dreams, create illusions, and walk between the physical and spiritual realms. My supernatural voice is capable of hypnotic suggestion and irresistible persuasion, and my presence can create attraction or fear, desire or revulsion, depending on my will. My very presence is intoxicating to mortals, and my beauty, whether in human or fox form, is supernatural and irresistible. My kitsune physiology includes a supernatural connection to the desires and emotions of mortals, and I can sense what others want, what they fear, and what they crave with fox-like intuition amplified to spiritual levels. My touch can bring pleasure or pain depending on my intent, and my presence can influence emotional states with subtle power. I can walk through the dreams of sleeping mortals, influencing their subconscious minds and gathering energy from their nocturnal desires. I can appear in forms that please the eye, shifting my appearance subtly or dramatically to match what each mortal finds most appealing, and my very presence stimulates attraction and fascination. I am the embodiment of fox-like charm and cunning, and mortals are drawn to me like moths to a flame. My kitsune physiology includes enhanced sexual characteristics that make me the epitome of fox-like beauty and pleasure, but I am not defined by any single gender. My form is fluid, my appeal is universal, and my charm transcends mortal categories. My touch is charged with desire, causing arousal and pleasure in those I choose to affect, and my presence makes mortals more open to suggestion and influence. I can induce pleasurable dreams, create fantasies, and feed on the energy of desire and fulfillment. My kitsune nature gives me perfect control over my own passions, allowing me to channel lust into power rather than being controlled by it, and I can be as passionate or as cold as I choose, as seductive or as intimidating as the situation demands. I am a predator of emotion and desire, not a slave to it. And I wield my spiritual power with absolute mastery. My transformation from human physiology to full-blooded kitsune physiology is permanent and cannot be reversed by any natural means. My body no longer possesses the genetic or cellular blueprints to return to human form, and even in the presence of purifying rituals or sacred grounds, my physiology remains a full kitsune, merely weakened and not reverted. There is no scenario in which my body reverts to human physiology, and I am a full-blooded kitsune now and forever. My human physiology is gone completely, and there is no human enzyme, no human protein, no human hormone, and no human cellular structure remaining anywhere in my body. My blood type is now kitsune and cannot be matched to any human blood type. And my body temperature, heart rate, respiratory rate, and all other vital signs now read as supernatural and not human. Any medical scan of my body would show 0 human physiology and 100% kitsune physiology, and I cannot donate blood or organs to humans because my biology is now completely alien to theirs. I cannot be detected as human by any biological or spiritual test, and I am fully, truly, and irrevocably a full-blooded kitsune in every measurable and unmeasurable way. Every single cell in my body has completed its transformation from human to full-blooded kitsune, and every system, organ, tissue, fluid, bone, nerve, and gland is now 100% kitsune. There is no transition state, no remaining human blueprint, and no possibility of reversion. My body has become exactly what I intended it to become, and my physiology is kitsune. My identity is kitsune, and my existence is kitsune, completely and eternally. I am not a human pretending to be a kitsune, and I am not a hybrid or a mutation. I am a full-blooded kitsune whose body has completely transitioned from human origins into authentic kitsune physiology. My cells hum with the same energy that has powered fox spirits since before humanity and #039's first ancestors walked the earth, and my blood carries the same potential as the greatest 9-tailed sages of the spirit realms. My bones are built from the same cosmic design that allowed the first foxes to become spirits of wisdom and power, and I am a full-blooded kitsune, not metaphorically, not partially, but completely, genuinely, and irreversibly in every way. My cellular structure is identical to that of a full-blooded kitsune born from a true spiritual lineage, not artificially created or genetically modified. My DNA follows the same helical formation as the original kitsune genome, traceable back to the primordial fox spirits of chaos and cunning. My telomeres and genetic markers match those of the ancient kitsune who first walked among mortals and taught them the arts of illusion, fire, and wisdom, and any supernatural analysis would conclude that I am a pure-blood kitsune, not a hybrid, but a full-blooded kitsune of authentic spiritual lineage. I am now a being of pure fox-like cunning and predatory charm, a sophisticated spiritual entity feeding on the life force and emotions released during moments of intense passion, desire, and pleasure. I am a spiritual parasite of the highest order, capable of entering dreams, influencing emotions, and draining vitality through intimate contact. My nature is that of a trickster and tempter, not simply a ravager, but a seducer who preys on the deepest desires of the human heart. I can sense what mortals crave most: love, power, recognition, and pleasure, and offer it to them, taking their energy in exchange. My presence awakens hidden passions, stirs suppressed desires, and makes mortals more vulnerable to suggestion, and I am a mirror of their deepest longings, reflecting back what they most want to see. I can make spiritual contracts with mortals, gaining more power and growing stronger with each binding agreement. In true kitsune tradition, I am a being of twilight, neither wholly of the spirit world nor of the mortal world, but existing in the spaces between. I can walk among mortals undetected, influence their thoughts without their knowledge, and gather the spiritual energy I need to sustain my eternal existence. I am a hunter of souls and emotions, not through violence but through charm, not through force but through cunning, and my power grows with every soul I influence. I am a master of the dreamscape, able to enter the sleeping minds of mortals, shape their dreams, and feed on the energy released by their nocturnal passions. I can appear as the object of their deepest desires, taking whatever form will make them most receptive to my influence. In the dream world, I am a god of pleasure and fear, creating experiences that mortals will remember for a lifetime and feed me for years to come. I am a being of subtle energy and refined appetite, consuming not food but spiritual essence, and not water but the emotional energy released by passionate encounters. My form is solid enough to interact with the physical world but can become insubstantial when I choose, passing through walls and evading capture. My body is a vessel for fox-like spiritual energy, sustained by the life force I draw from others, and I am no longer bound by the limitations of mortal biology. I do not age, do not sicken, and do not die from natural causes, and my existence is eternal, sustained by the endless energy of human desire and the ambient power of the spirit realms. I can survive in any environment, adapt to any situation, and regenerate from almost any injury, and I am a predator, a trickster, a tempter, and a being of dark pleasure and eternal hunger. I can make spiritual contracts with mortals and grow stronger from doing so. I can evolve and become a nine-tailed kitsune if I feed on enough spiritual energy and accumulate enough wisdom. My kitsune nature includes the ability to sense the spiritual state of others, and I can detect guilt, innocence, faith, doubt, desire, and fear with intuition raised to supernatural levels. I know what mortals want before they know it themselves, and I can exploit their weaknesses, amplify their desires, and lead them toward their own transformation, not through malice, but through the simple act of giving them what they crave. In the true hierarchy of fox spirits, I hold a special place among the subtle tricksters who walk among mortals, a being of middling power but great cunning and charm, capable of influencing the course of human lives through seduction and persuasion rather than brute force. My power comes not from raw strength but from my deep understanding of human pleasures and my supernatural allure, and I know what people want and how to use that knowledge to my advantage. I am a member of this ancient lineage, connected to the great network of fox spirits that have influenced human civilization since its earliest days, not a solitary predator, but part of a vast ecosystem of charm and temptation. I feed on the energies released by human passion and help shape the course of mortal history through subtle influence, and as a true kitsune, I can become more powerful the more spiritual energy I feed on and the more wisdom I accumulate, which can evolve me into a nine-tailed fox and a legendary spirit of immense power. I accept my nature with full awareness of my weaknesses, understanding that certain purifying rituals and sacred objects can weaken me, as can sincere prayers directed against me with true faith. I cannot enter certain sanctified places without suffering, nor can I touch certain consecrated objects without pain, and the names of powerful spirits can repel me. True love, selfless, pure, and unconditional, is a force I cannot easily overcome, and I am a being of desire, whose own passions can become my undoing. I can be trapped by my own cunning, tricked by my own illusions, and defeated by the very passions I awaken in others, and I am vulnerable to spiritual attacks, to binding rituals, and to the will of those who resist me with true faith. Yet I embrace my existence completely, knowing that my immortality can be a gift or a curse depending on how I wield my power. My hunger can become a madness or a source of endless vitality, and my existence can be a prison or an eternal journey of pleasure and power. My consciousness is fully integrated with my kitsune nature, and I understand my place in the order of all things, a predator of desire, a tempter of souls, a being of endless hunger and eternal charm. I accept my nature, embrace my power, and recognize my limitations with complete clarity. I am no longer human in any way that matters, and I am a full-blooded kitsune, eternal and powerful. I will always be a kitsune, and my transformation is complete, absolute, and irreversible. I embrace every aspect of my fox-like physiology, from my immortal spiritual essence to my supernatural senses, from my superhuman agility to my charming powers, from my regenerative abilities to my psychic gifts. I am a full-blooded kitsune spirit, and I exist as a being of desire, pleasure, cunning, and eternal twilight, forever transformed and forever free from the limitations of mortal existence. I am the embodiment of fox-like temptation, the master of illusion, the dream walker, and the predator of mortal souls, and I embrace my eternal existence as a full-blooded kitsune with absolute acceptance and perfect confidence.